I was raised around medical textbooks. My mother is a registered nurse. My father is a registered nurse. My grandmother's a registered nurse. My grandfather was a medic in the war, World War II. And my uncle is an anesthesiologist. My dad's father is a dermatologist. My grandmother's mother is a registered nurse. But I've always been interested in plants and plant remedies. Okay, so I always think about plant medicine. I always think about the nature of plants. I always think about symmetry in plants. I always think about how plants grow. I think about photosynthesizing all the time. In my head, I'm an agriculturist, along with botany, herbalism, and homeopathy. Also Chinese medicine, but I know less about that than everything else. Okay, so one of the lessons that I've truly taken to heart from trees and plants is that the deeper your roots grow, the less likely you are to topple over when something happens, like a strong wind or forces outside of you that you can't control. I've also learned from plants that the more tender you are, the softer you are, the more resilient you are. The less likely you are to break when something outside of your control happens. The more you can bend with the wind, the deeper your roots can grow, the more resilient you are. Okay, so what is fixed energy? What is that? So we have the carriers of the season, right? That is the middle part, the pregnant part of the season. That is the essence of what we think of when we think of a season in a year. The 4 quadrants of a year are divided up in these modalities, okay? So we had Aries season, that was the initiator of spring. Now we have Taurus season, which is the very definition, the essence, the fixed part of spring. And then moving on forward, the end of spring is in Gemini. Fixed energy is also characterized by the cherubim or tetramorph. Okay, so if you Google it right now, a tetramorph is one being characterized by 4 different heads or animals. We have a human, an eagle, a cow, and a lion, all represented by a being with wings. That is a tetramorph. So this is more than just a seasonal thing. All these fucking divisions of time have other symbolism and esoteric energy in the church, whatever. We can go deep with these. We can look at the functions of a cherubim and really get a good characteristic for all these fixed signs and how they're meant to act. Taurus, Scorpio, Aquarius, Leo. Okay? Taurus, Scorpio, oh my God, Aquarius and Leo are the fixed energies, okay? So when you glue all of these energies together, you get something that is whole. When we're talking about the symbolic version of the tetramorph, those are aspects of the Christed being, if you get down to the nitty-gritty. They each have functions. They're also supposedly the apostles, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John. Together we get the whole picture of the year when we glue together these modalities. But something that the fixed signs need to be reminded of is to stay flexible in their fixed functions. So when we have forces we can't control throughout the year, as within, so without, as above, so below. We have all of these energies throughout the year, these seasons, these zodiacal signs, these esoteric symbols that we can all glue together to get the whole picture so we can become full of the Christed Spirit, okay? I'm not speaking of Christianity. I'm speaking of ascended mastership. I'm talking about being more than what you currently are or more than where you started. These seasons of fixed signs bring us closer to change. How about that? Being fixed and writing the energy and seeing it all the way through brings us closer to change. You can fight me on this, but you won't change my mind. The fixed signs are the ones that know how to luxuriate better than all of them. So when you're in the middle of taking up this space of the season, really getting into the feeling of spring, really getting into the feeling of summer, really getting into the feeling of fall, really getting into the feeling of winter, luxuriate in that. The only way out is through these energies. So when you're immersed in it all the way and change isn't there yet, just know the best way to change is to stay flexible. The best way to deal with these energies is to stay flexible. Branches, when they're tender, are the best at staying resilient. I hope I'm making sense. Fixed energies sort of force us to luxuriate and take up space and be in the moment. And be present with things in the stillness, because the change hasn't happened yet and the initiation's already happened. It's literally like being pregnant. Things have to have time and to gestate properly, right? So that's what this part of each season is. So you have to really feel out each season to properly experience it and go through it. Staying flexible inside of that taking up space is a talent. It takes talent to stay tender while you're still growing. Okay, I'm hoping that throwing this together makes sense. So the best way to do that is to be sensual, to understand that these sensations that we're feeling in the middle of these seasons are all part and parcel of the journey. Taurus is no other exception. I mean, we will have to, just as in the summer, we cannot avoid the sun of Leo season. We cannot avoid the scent and the smell and the sensation of spring, because it's either raining or the flowers are blooming and the sun's out and that spring breeze is breezing. Let me tell you, when I say that the orange blossoms this time of year are my absolute favorite thing in the whole wide world, there's nothing that's duplicatable. I love the smell of orange blossoms more than anything. And it can't be bottled, really. I've never smelled anything that can dupe an orange blossom. Like maybe something from Lush, but still, I'm digressing. I love spring. So let's immerse ourselves in it. Let's really get into Taurus season and get sensual with it. Like, that's what it's for. It's a tetramorph energy, so we have to take shape of it. Am I making sense? I love you guys. It's what, Thursday? No, it's Friday. Oh my God. Happy Friday.